Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Power Moves Young Leaders Network Edition. On this episode, I chat with Marissa Arnold, who is the owner and broker of record at RE/MAX Crown Realty in Sudbury, Ontario. And this was a fun conversation that went through a few different transitions. We started off by talking about Marissa's background and how she got into real estate in the first place. Then we move into the theme of leadership. Marissa is not only a leader within her own office, she also holds several key leadership roles within the greater real estate industry as well. So she talks about why that's important to her and also how she continually grows and improves on those leadership skills. And then finally, we move into office culture. Not only in-person office culture, but also how you showcase that digitally, because Marissa does a fantastic job of creating great video content which shows what it's like to be an agent at that office. I know you're going to really enjoy this episode of Power Moves YLN Edition. From RE/MAX, this is Power Moves Young Leaders Network Edition, where we go in depth with some of the best young RE/MAX agents and brokers to unpack what it takes to be a top producing real estate agent and the moves that took their careers to new heights. My name is Wade Paterson. I'm an executive director with RE/MAX Canada, and I'm your host for this audio experience. And on this episode, I'm joined by Marissa Arnold, owner and broker of record at RE/MAX Crown Realty in Sudbury, Ontario. Throughout Marissa's decade of experience in the real estate industry, she's held several key roles, such as Northern Ontario Director for OREA, Director for the Ontario Realtors Care Foundation, Chair of OREA's Young Professionals Network, and a member of the RE/MAX National Broker Advisory Council. Marissa, welcome to Power Moves Young Leaders Network Edition.
Thank you, Wade. I'm excited to be here. I will say we don't just serve Sudbury, we serve the majority of Northern Ontario as well.
That's right. Why don't you start off by breaking down your marketplace, your market? Because one thing I've learned about you is that you are passionate about where you live. I had the chance to visit you about a year and a couple months ago, and you took me on this great tour, and you have this passion for your community. So for those who aren't familiar with your area there, can you break it down?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Sudbury, Ontario, and no, we don't live in igloos. We are a 4-hour drive north of Toronto. So our brokerage was born and raised in Sudbury, but over the last few years, we've expanded to the majority of the north. So we have agents that serve Espanola and Manitoulin Island, all the way out to Blind River. Going north, we service Timmins, Kapuskasing, Hearst, and sort of everything in between. And going east, our most recent expansion includes North Bay.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mentioned there in the bio a decade of experience in the real estate industry. What were you doing prior to real estate and what led you down this path?
That makes me sound old. Prior to real estate, I was in pharmaceutical sales. So I have a biology degree and began my career in pharmaceutical sales, and I adored my job. But I was traveling all the time. And I wasn't traveling to exotic destinations. I was traveling to less exotic destinations. And when it came time to have a family and settle down, I really had to take a look at where I wanted my career to go. And that sort of travel just was not in the cards for me.
But was real estate always in the back of your mind, or why was that the next step transition?
Never. Never. I come from a family of developers and new home builders, and growing up, I was Miss Independent, and I wanted absolutely nothing to do with the family business. You could not get me farther away from that, which probably explains my biology degree. But circumstances in my personal life led to me wanting just to be closer to my family and sort of explore that family bond and what that could look like. And I started working in the office at my family's development company. So I actually was the person who, when you purchased a new home, you would come to me and I would help you choose your cabinets and your flooring and your paint and your brick and all of that. And in that time, at the same time, I was working towards my real estate license. Once I got my license, I started selling the new home product. and quickly fell in love with real estate, and quickly fell in love with working for myself. So it wasn't long before I left the family business to focus 100% on real estate, and I've never looked back.
What's really cool is that you've not just done a great job in this industry, but you've really taken that leadership piece as well. I mean, you're not only a leader in your own office, but I listed a bunch of different leadership roles that you've had in the industry. Why has it been important for you to also be a leader in the greater industry?
It's important for me to always be growing, not just from a dollars and cents perspective, but from a personal growth perspective, and always be taking on new challenges and putting myself out there in these leadership roles has allowed me to meet some amazing new people, has allowed me to expand my knowledge and my skill set. And so for those reasons, and I'm sure many others, for those reasons, it's been a huge part of my growth as a realtor and an entrepreneur.
What you just said matches your Instagram bio, because on your Instagram bio, you have a quote that says, "My goal is not to be better than anyone else, but to be better than I used to be." My question is, how do you ensure specifically that you are continually getting better?
Well, it's certainly not perfect, right? Some days it's one step forward, two steps back. Some days it's two steps forward, one step back. As long as the focus is always on being a little bit better than I was yesterday, then I think I'm winning. I think I'm winning, and that's in every aspect of my life, not just professionally.
We're at an interesting time in the year right now. We are recording this in early November. And for many
Mhm.
people at this time of the year, they start to think about the year ahead. So we're entering 2025. And then, so part of that is goal setting. So my
Yes.
question for you, Marissa, is how do you approach goal setting? And then how do you ensure you keep yourself accountable for reaching those goals?
Well, the approach to goal setting is such that for me, I've got personal and professional goals. But in this business, as a real estate salesperson, I think they're married. I think they have to be intertwined, because real estate, let's be honest, is if you're doing it well, it's all consuming. So I think it's important to recognize that personal and professional goals should be aligned. We have a 4-page document that we go through with our agents on a one-on-one basis to plan their year, where your business came from this year, where you want it to come from next year, what went well, what went not so well. What are some of your personal goals? What did you have a hard time with personally this year? How can we help move through that? So we work with our agents, and write it all down and put it in front of their faces. And I have a coach who does very much the same for me.
That's so cool. And so for those agents who you've maybe brought over from other offices, is that like a pretty incredible thing? Or like, I'm assuming not many offices go that in depth with their goal setting and ensure that they're hitting all of those levels. So what has kind of been their reaction when they get brought into the fold and they're like, wow, this is really great. There's business planning for my own business.
Yeah. Well, I think the reaction for new agents and for our agents is very much the same, because every year the goal setting template gets more detailed and we dive
Right.
deeper into it. And every year it's all about taking ownership for your business. So when a new agent comes in and they see that we take the time to meet with every single person on a one-on-one basis and we follow all of their progress throughout the year, it's an awesome feeling for me. It must be an awesome feeling for them to really know that we've got their back and we care about their success.
So Marissa, a couple times in this conversation, you've talked a little bit about the importance of personal growth. And I would imagine that that comes in the form of your own education,
Yep.
training, reading. Is there a book or two or a podcast or something that has really helped you when it has come to your own leadership skills?
Well, Wade, the Power Moves podcast is a pretty great one, let me tell you.
Let me just tell everyone I paid Marissa to say this at the beginning of it. So yeah, continue. Go talk about no.
But so for real, podcast I'm really, really into right now is The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett.
So
I
good.
don't know if you've listened to that one. He's got a whole cross section of people. Every episode is a different expert in their own field. He's had Richard Branson on. He's had a sex therapist on, like all sorts of of specialists in their field, and I just love it. I love it. The last episode I listened to was about mindset, which we've talked for 10 minutes now. You know that's my jam. But also my husband says I sound like a TED Talk, like a walking TED Talk, but it's true. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I'm really, really conscious of who I spend my time with. And if you're not good for my mindset, and if you're not good for my mental health, I won't be spending time with you.
That podcast, you're so right, because it's dove into certain subjects with people where you've seen reactions that you don't otherwise see. I remember an interview he did with Gary Vaynerchuk, and he brought Gary Vaynerchuk to tears. And yeah,
Yeah.
so that's definitely a good one to check out. One thing
Yeah.
I want to talk about is office culture, because I think sometimes this is a bit of a buzzword that gets tossed around that maybe doesn't have a specific meaning behind it. But for you, what does office culture mean, and how do you go about maintaining a positive office culture?
Well, positive office culture is something that we work at every single day, because with 100 plus personalities in the room and having a voice, it can be difficult at times to maintain that positivity and that growth mindset. But every one of my staff is very clear that if it's not positive, it will not be tolerated. If it's not going to move the needle forward, or if it's not going to contribute to your success or getting that deal done, it's not, we don't want it.
What I think a lot of offices struggle to do is to take that office culture and then be able to showcase that digitally. And that's one thing that I think you've done really well through your social media content, through your office's social media content, is
Thanks.
making interesting videos and things that people actually want to connect with, but showcase your culture. So how do you approach your content strategy from an office perspective?
Well, when I was at Recruiting 101 in Toronto in April, something that Ben Fairfield said really, really stuck with me. And he said, we're all amazing. Remax is the brand. Your offices are all amazing. And you're all amazing because you're in the room and you want to learn. But we need to get loud about it. Right now, we're secret agents, and we've got to stop. We've got to be loud about it. And so that's been our mission, is just to really be loud and really showcase all of the amazing people that we have, all of the amazing things that we do, the training that we offer, the fun ways that we get involved in the community. And so the idea to be loud, I credit to Ben Fairfield. The execution of being loud, I 100% credit to our social media person. I
Mm.
can take no credit. She tells me where to be and what to say, and I do what she says. And
Well,
she does a great job.
that was gonna be my next question, is how are you tactically going through the process? So everything from coming up with the ideas to
Mhm.
shooting the content to editing the content. Is that 100% your social media staff member?
Yes, with the help of ChatGPT,
Yeah.
100%.
What goes into that? And the reason I'm really sticking on this point is because I think a lot of offices they see videos like the ones you're putting out and they want to
Mhm.
do that, but maybe they just think like, I don't have that skill set. The quality of video is really good. You have crazy transitions that are happening between take to take.
Yep.
So I'm just curious, like, do they have a background in editing? Is there another service that's helping with some of those transitions? Like, can you just kind of break down the whole process of creating one of these videos?
So her and I will work together on a monthly basis and come up with sort of a plan for the month. What we
Mm,
want, what kind of content we want to put out there. We're currently working on our plan for 2025. What sort of real ideas, what's trending?
mm.
For a while it was classy demure. The Halloween reel that we posted was a trend that she saw that she really liked. Does she have background in editing? No, we poached her from one of our teams. It's all love, don't worry. She was a social media person for one of our teams and was looking for a little bit more stability and a little bit more full-time employment. So she's just learned as she's gone. And if you look at her content from even a year ago, she's brilliant. She's brilliant. So can I give you what the process is from start to finish? No. We talk about, we make a plan. We use AI a lot to help execute the plan, and then she's just on it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool, and the content is really showing well. Uh,
Thanks.
I
Thanks.
want to transition a little bit here, Marissa, and perhaps this ties into what we were talking about earlier
Mhm.
when it comes to personal growth as well. And a theme that we've had in the last couple of interviews on Power Moves has been balance, mindset, mental health, things like
Yep.
that, because
Yep.
it's tough in this industry. There's peaks and valleys, and there's all sorts of factors. For yourself, you're a wife, you're a mother, you are the owner of your office. As I mentioned, you're involved with many other organizations as well. How do you ensure that you have some sort of balance in life?
Can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay. If anybody tells you that they've achieved balance, they are full of shit.
Mm,
I think balance is an everyday goal
yeah.
and an everyday struggle. And some days we're good at it, and some days we're terrible at it. And some days I'm an excellent mom and an excellent wife, and the things that I cook for dinner are dialed. And some days I'm an excellent broker and I'm a terrible mom and it's pizza for dinner. But I think that as long as the intention is there, as long as we get up the next day and we try to be excellent all over again, um, I think we're not losing. I think if everybody in your world knows that you're just doing your best, and knows that you're coming at it from a place of love, balance is an everyday thing. It's
I
not. I
appreciate
don't think. I don't think there's a goal, and once you achieve it, you've got it. I think it's an everyday thing.
I appreciate that so much, that authentic answer, because sometimes we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And we see, especially in this age of social media, it seems like everyone else just has everything figured out as well. So it puts pressure on us. So I think you articulated that perfectly.
Yeah.
In a second, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask every guest on Power
Okay.
Moves YLN Edition, which is, what is your power move when it comes to real estate? But before that, I just want to specifically dial in on the Ontario Realtors Care Foundation and this
Yes.
idea of giving back and that importance of contributing to the community and some of these great causes. What does that look like for you, and why is that a real piece of importance?
Well, the community is at the core of everything that we do. Without the members of our community, we don't have anything. We don't have a business if it's not for the support of our community. So if our communities are supporting us, we have to support them. And whether that's Realtors Care, whether that's the Children's Miracle Network in Northern Ontario, we've got Neo Kids. We, as an office, have supported the LGBTQ movement. We did a Pride Bowling event. We have to, I think it's essential that we give back to the communities who support us. To me, it is a non-negotiable.
So as I mentioned, Marissa, we like to end every episode of Power Moves YLN Edition with, what is your power move when it comes to real estate? And I don't know if you want to take this one or not, but for me, when I see your office putting out this great content, it's in the top 1 or 2% of what I see from offices digitally. So is that the power move you want to take, or something else? I'll throw it over to you.
Well, I really, really appreciate you saying that because we work really hard at it. We between my social media gal and our little chat GPT and I think we do a really great job. So it's really nice to hear that from an outside perspective. So yeah, if our digital presence is our power move, I will definitely own it for sure.
I love that. Thank you, Marissa, so much for joining me on this episode of Power Moves YLN Edition.
Thanks, Wade. It's been super fun.